All right, so let's take a look at a new feature that got added in the Photoshop CC, the Photoshop Creative Cloud version. I think it could probably be one of the most impactful features, at least for me, that I've seen in a long, long time. And that is right up here under the filter menu. There's an option to go to the Camera Raw dialog as a filter. And to me, that's huge. So for starters, let's say, here was the workflow. You open up a Camera Raw photo and you'd edit it and you come over here into Photoshop. What about if you wanted to change the white balance again or do something like that? You had to close your photo, lose your work, go back to Camera Raw. It's a big pain in the butt. So now you just come right up here to the Camera Raw filter menu. So I'll do just that. We'll go into the Camera Raw filter. And it opens the photo up just like you'd expect inside of Camera Raw with all the same controls and everything. If you're wondering, and it's really what I find is it just depends kind of when you started using Photoshop. If you started using Photoshop after you're already shooting RAW and everything, a lot of people are already using Camera Raw. Or, by the way, this looks the same as it does for Lightroom. All these controls are the same. But if you used Photoshop way, way back, and you used levels inside of Photoshop and curves and all these adjustments inside the adjustments panel, color balance, levels, curves, photo filters, brightness, contrast, all these different filters, you may have gotten used to a particular workflow. But I'm really here to tell you that Camera Raw and these controls, because they're also in Lightroom, is the future of photography. I basically get access to all these different things in one place, where these would take so many different layers, so many different adjustments and dialog boxes to do inside of the full Photoshop editor, that here's a place to do it. So in this example, let's say we increase the exposure. Maybe I warm the photo a little bit of magenta, and come down here and add some saturation or do something like that. I'll increase the exposure even more. I'll click OK. It returns us back into Photoshop's editor. The only trick here is that if I go back, because whenever you edit a RAW file, whenever you reopen that RAW file, it remembers the settings you had. But if I go back, all my settings are zeroed out again. All right, so there is a trick to doing this that'll help out in case you do find yourself going back and forth. And that is I'm going to undo. So I'm back to my original photo. And what you do first is when you come up here to the filter menu, you go down to convert for smart filters. So I'm going to choose that. Only thing that's going to change is you're going to see a little badge in the bottom right corner here. It means it's a smart filter. All right. What that tells us is that now when I add a filter in this filter menu to this photo, like let's go to sharpen. I'll go to sharpen. I'll go to unsharp mask and click OK. When I add a filter to this, it shows up down here as a smart filter. If I ever want to edit the sharpening that I've done here, I just double click. It remembers exactly where I was and I can adjust it. So again, we'll undo. We're back to our smart filter conversion. So I go to Camera Raw, filter. All right, I make my adjustments, white balance, maybe pull back on the highlights, do something like that. So there, that's before, that's after. I make my adjustments, I click OK. You'll see it now shows up here as a Camera Raw filter. It's a smart filter layer, which means I can always adjust it. And what this tells me is that if I double click Camera Raw filter, it opens back up. All my settings are remembered. The only gotcha here is don't come up here to the filter menu and do it. If you come up here to the filter menu and do it, you're going to see the settings are zeroed out again. But if you go right down here and just double click on the Camera Raw filter, it opens the dialog. Now you can adjust it back. You can do whatever you want to it because it remembers all your settings and you can go back and forth as many times as you want. All right, folks, hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Great new feature in the Creative Cloud version of Photoshop. If you have it, if you don't have it, make sure you download it. To me, this is one of the big game changers because Camera Raw is the place where I do so much work to my photos. Having the ability to jump back and forth really helps out. My name is Matt Laskowski. Talk to you again soon.